Today we're going to look at deformers, and you can add deformation effects to your objects to enhance their animations. The deformers are tools that let you transform or animate objects in ways that simple manipulation and keyframes can't. And you can also use deformers as modeling tools for shaping NURBS or polygonal objects. They basically work by creating a separate object in your scene, and then this object can be placed over the other object that they affect, and their parameters can create different effects. So we're going to start looking at nonlinear deformers. And since these deformers are mainly meant for animation, you're going to find them under the animation rollout menu. You can also use these deformers for 3D modeling purposes, but Maya has decided to locate them under the animation submenu. I'm going to go to my perspective mode. And so let's take a look at our deform window. So you can see there's a lot of different deformers, and we're going to take a look at some of these. And we're going to start with nonlinear deformers. So you can actually bring this window out. The way that you do that is by clicking on this top part of the menu and then dragging it out, and it'll bring this window out. So it'll make it easier for us to see each one. And let's start with the bend deformer. So I'm going to select my banana, and I'm going to apply the bend deformer. And you can see that there's this new object in my scene, which is my bend handle. You can also see it here in the outliner. Let's check out our attributes. So this handle can control the curvature of our bend, and it can be different in our higher or lower bound, right? And we can also change the orientation of our handle. So say we wanted to actually bend our banana in a more exaggerated way, but we wanted it to bend in this direction and not so much this direction. We can take the handle, and by pressing E, we can rotate it the way we rotate other objects as well. And we can also change its location. So now my handle is aligned to this axis, but you can see that the bend is working upwards. So if we wanted the bend to work along the z-axis, we would need to rotate it, right? And again, let's go to the bend tab in our attribute editor, and let's see what happens now with this curvature. So you can see the banana can bend in both directions, and again, we can even reduce some of the bounds, and this way we can start to deform our banana. And what's great about this deformer is that it can either help you for 3D modeling shapes. So say we wanted to 3D model our banana from scratch. Instead of actually modeling the curvature, you could just model out a straight shape and then add bend to it and then bend it to give it the natural curvature that a banana has. Or you could use them for animation purposes. So we've already looked at keyframing animations, and you can also keyframe these deformations. So we'll go to our frame 1, And in this case, you want to keyframe the actual deformer. So under the curvature, let's go ahead and set a key, and let's move over some frames and maybe change the curvature. I kind of like how it's looking like a snake now, and set my next key. And so now I've animated my banana to wiggle around. So again, what this did was add a handle to an existing object, and then this handle can be controlled, and there's different attributes for it, and it'll affect the object that I first selected. In this case, it was my banana. And for the rest of the examples, I'm just going to make a shape to the side. And let's see, let's make this a little bit smaller. You want to add some subdivisions too along its height, because this will affect the way that it deforms. If you don't have any subdivisions, or the less subdivisions, the more jagged your deformation will be. So let's try flare. So again, I select my object, and then I select flare. And so this is my flare handle. And let's look at this handle's attributes. We can change the start in X and Z direction. And we can do it also with the end of our polygon. We can curve the middle, right? And we can also decide where our higher and lower bounds may be. So this can be useful for modeling shapes, maybe such as a vase, right? And it could also be useful for animating an object. So again, to animate, you would just right-click and set keys for the different attributes that you want to animate. If you want to keep your model with an existing shape and you don't want to keep working with the handles because you're happy with the way it looks and you don't plan on animating it, you just want the geometry, you can always hit Shift D and duplicate this object. And it'll duplicate, and this second object won't have the handles in it. So you'll see with the second object, I can't really alter it anymore. I don't have those tabs because this handle has been assigned only to the first object. So this is a way of working if you just want to model something with these quick deformers. Okay, let's look at something else. So I want to go back to my cylinder and add another nonlinear deformer to it. And to do this, I can also just delete my flare handle, and my cylinder is back to normal. And I'm going to delete this one too for now. Let's go ahead and actually move this so it's in our backdrop. And now let's try the twist deformer. So here's our twist handle, and this is useful for also modeling things such as ropes or maybe strands of hair that have unusual shapes. And again, you can change the lower and higher bounds. You can also rotate your handle, and this will make your object twist in different directions. So you could really experiment with these deformers and get any kind of shape you want. Again, I could add subdivisions along the height of my cylinder and it'll make it much smoother. And this will help it twist better. And you can also keyframe all of these attributes. So let's take this handle out, and I'm going to rotate my cylinder. And actually, maybe for the case of these other deformers, it's better we work with another shape. Let's create a cube. And let's add some width, depth, and let's make the height 0.1. I'm going to add plenty of subdivisions along its width and height. Okay, so let's look at sine. So I'm not really getting anything right now. I think it has to do with the way the handle is oriented. So let's try and rotate it. Okay, so now I'm getting something. So you can see my sine curve now, right? And I can start to animate this polygon with wavelengths, or just shape it. And again, you can keyframe anything here. I'm going to delete this handle, and now let's look at this last one, which is wave. This one is really similar to sine. Oh, I need to select my object and then hit wave. And here's my handle. And let's see. So now I'm getting more of a circular effect. I can, again, change my wavelength, make it something smaller or larger. And I can change the drop-off and the minimum and maximum radius. And so again, this could be great for animating surfaces and have them look like maybe water that's flowing, or you could just use your imagination and think of what you can apply this to. Again, if I add more subdivisions to my cube, under the Polycube tab, I could add more subdivisions and it'll make everything look smoother. And if I scale this up, you'll see that it's still being affected by its deformer because they're attached. So say I like this, the way this looks, and I want to keep it just as a geometry. Again, I can Shift D to duplicate the object and just keep this one without the handle. And so it won't be affected if my handle moves or anything. Okay, so these are the nonlinear deformers that Maya has, and next we're going to look at some other deformers.